All toy restorations will be handled by the YouTubers controlling each channel. Reproduction parts may not be used where there are Star Wars forums. Toy restorers and collectors are available. Analog Toys, Retro Blasting, Toy Galaxy, Geek Force, Zarnista Studios, and toy-polloi. Toy-polloi has been assigned.
Welcome to toy-polloi. No Legos were harmed in the making of this video.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be restoring this vintage Kenner Darth Vader's Star Destroyer playset. Now in front of me I actually have enough for I think one complete one, and there's the remains of another one at least, and maybe some bits for a third. I've been collecting these for sort of about a year now. The first one I was very kindly sent by Kevin from Zarnista Studios, and that was missing a few pieces. And then I got another one recently from Daniel, who sent me a big load of stuff, and I think from that and some other pieces that I sort of amassed in that time, I should be able to make one really nice one. There are some parts of this playset that are really hard to find, and those are the ones that have taken me a long time to track down. And there's one part that I've still not been able to get, but it's a part I think I should be able to make from scratch, so that's my plan. But as you can see, there is a lot of pieces here. They're all in various states of sort of dirtiness, so I think the first thing I'm going to have to do with all of these is give them a good clean. You can see here, this is one of them. It's really quite filthy. It's got a lot of dirt and grime all over it, so I want to give everything a good wash. Some of these have stickers on that are just barely there. If it's a loose sticker like that, I think I might remove it, but generally when I'm going to wash these, I will try not to get the stickers damp, because ideally I'd like to keep these stickers as original as possible. There is a sticker sheet available for them if you sort of need to make replacements, but most of these are in fairly good condition, so I think I'm going to try and clean these without getting the stickers wet. So to do that, I will be using a toothbrush and some hot soapy water and just washing around and making sure that not too much water gets on them, and then drying them afterwards. And then once all that's done, I'm going to pick the sort of the best pieces out of the lot. Some of these are sort of in better condition than others. You can see some of the back panels, a couple of them are a little bit yellowed and some are quite nice and white. Likewise, these handles, some are a little bit damaged or got tape and stuff on them, so I'll take the best ones. I think you can sort of see the difference in colour of a couple of these if I put them side by side. So this is slightly yellow, this one's not too bad, so I'll just take the best ones and we'll use those. But initially the first thing to do is let's give everything a good wash and a good clean. There are a couple of electronic bits that I need to avoid as well. If we take this part, which is part of the sort of Darth Vader's meditation chamber type thing, you can see there is a piece of I'm going to say metal, I'm not sure what metal, sort of copper or something that runs down, which is where the batteries go. So this one, again, I want to be careful if I don't want to get water inside that. And likewise, the little battery sort of lid at the top has a spring in it, so I think I could possibly remove the spring, but it may be the plastic's quite brittle, so I think I might be better off just leaving that rather than trying to remove it. So again, I'll be careful when I clean that, but everything else, let's give it a good clean with some hot soapy water and a toothbrush. After a good clean, everything's looking a whole lot better, and I've made my selections. These are the best pieces out of that pile of Star Destroyer bits that I had, and this is what we're going to build the ship from. Now these are all still a little bit wet. I've sort of dried them as best I can, but because there are stickers on them I don't want to dry them too much. I'm actually just going to let them air dry, and that will take a sort of an hour or so. But that means in the meantime we can get on with building the missing part, which is key for the top section of the Star Destroyer. Now one piece that always seems to be missing on these Star Destroyer Destroyers is the clip that holds the hologram in place. The way this is supposed to work is you're slotting it in the top of the Star Destroyer like that, and there's a clip that goes between these 2 points, and that holds this hologram in the upright position. And then when you want to slide it down into the Death Star, you sort of slide it forwards and it hangs like this sort of in front of the figures, and then you pull it back like that, and the clip sort of pulls this whole piece up to the top of the Death Star. But without it, you can see this just sort of hangs down and it gets in the way. So as I can't find this clip, and I've sort of searched online, there are a few people selling them for really sort of crazy amounts of money. I thought I'd just make it because it seems a very simple object, and I found some photos online and been able to sort of work out roughly the shape of it and the size of it, and that means I can make something from scratch. Now I've already made a little sort of template test version, which is this, and you can see I can clip this in, and that is doing the job. You can see that is now held in place, and if I slide this panel forward, it goes down, and if I pull it back up, it holds it in place. So we're going to make a proper version of this. This, as I say, is my sort of prototype. I just made it out of some 2mm styrene sheet, and it's the white styrene, but I now have some black styrene, and that's what we're going to use today, because this clip itself is supposed to be black. So let's just get on and make it. It should be fairly straightforward. As you can see, it's a pretty simple shape, and it shouldn't take very long at all. So here is my rough diagram, and I've made some measurements using sort of measurements taken off of the top of the Star Destroyer, because we can work out how wide this piece needs to be, and also how wide the gap needs to be for this part of the hologram to slide through. And using a couple of photos that I found online, I think I've got these measurements pretty accurate. So what we're going to be making out of is a black polystyrene sheet. Now this is just a small piece of a cut-off that I used for some other project. This is 2mm thick, and you can buy this online. I normally buy mine from eBay in sort of A4 sheets. It comes in multiple colours. This is the black stuff. So what I've done is I've already cut a strip off that is the right width to go between these two little panels. So you can see there, that fits in quite nicely. That is exactly 1 centimetre, so 10mm. So you need to cut yourself a 10mm wide strip, and then the rest of the measurements I have here, and I'll talk you through them as I go. Because actually the original shape that I made here, I made it sort of nice and square, but it doesn't need to be square. It needs to have a sort of slight taper to it, so it looks a bit more like a bucket shape. So I'm going to modify this. This was, as I say, my prototype, and we'll use these new measurements I have here, and we'll make something that does the job. But this is what we're going to start with, a 1 centimetre or 10mm wide strip of polystyrene sheet. To make this piece, we obviously need 3 main pieces, the 2 uprights and the piece across the middle. We're going to cut 2 thinner strips to make these little clip sections on either side, but we'll start by making the main shape. So these 2 vertical pieces are 16mm tall, so I'm going to cut 2 16mm pieces off of this. Just very simply, I've got a ruler here. I will measure onto it. I'll then score it with a knife, and the plastic you can just snap once you've scored it. So let's get these bits measured and cut, and then we'll move on to the other pieces. Now, we need to make a piece that has a sort of slight taper to it, so rather than being vertical like that, these need to be at a slight angle. Measuring between the 2 pieces at the top, we know that the top width is actually exactly 3 centimetres, so 30mm, and that these pieces are 2mm wide. So if we wanted it square, we would have to make this piece 26mm long, but we don't want that. What we're going to do is actually make it 24mm, and it's only 2mm different, but that will make a big difference. We can then put a little angle on the edges, and we'll stick these pieces on so that they sort of taper out slightly. So we are going to cut this piece to be 24mm long, and I think that should do the job. I think when I did this one, I didn't add that taper in, which is why it is so square. So let's cut this one to be 24mm long. And that does look perfect, because you can see that this holographic piece just fits across the top of it. So this is going to be fine, but this doesn't actually have the angled edges. What we're now going to do is I'm just going to file those down, or sand them down. I've got a little nail file here, and I'm going to sand an angle onto the edges of these. So when we come to stick these on, they'll be tapered out slightly. So yeah, just using a simple nail file here, and I'll rub this piece along and give the edge a slight angle. And I'll do the same on the other end as well. It's lovely soft stuff, so it's very easy to work with. It doesn't take long to do that. You can see already I've got a bit of an angle there, and I think that's probably enough. Once we glue these in, we can sort of fine tune them, but I think an angle like that should be fine. So I'll do the other edge, and then we'll plastic weld these two pieces together. So with those angles in place, we can now plastic weld these end pieces on, and they will have a slight angle to them. We can sort of modify it a bit as we go, just to make sure that it is exactly how we want. Just sort of doing it by eye. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just sort of making it up really a little bit as I go along. I've got the rough measurements, but the rest is just sort of, I'll do it and see if it fits. So a bit of plastic weld on the end there. I'll bond these pieces together. As you can see, it's starting to look the part. While we're waiting for that plastic weld to dry fully, I'm going to now cut some little strips that I want to stick onto these ends to make the little clips that sort of actually clip in place. On this original one, I filed them in, and you can see they do a reasonable job, but I actually want to make them much bigger than that. Looking at the sort of pictures of the original pieces, they're much bigger clips. So I'm going to just cut two 3mm strips off this other piece that we've got here, and then I will plastic weld those in place as well. They'll be square to start with, but as you can see, we can easily file them down. Now you saw I made a little bit of a mess of the bottom. I actually stuck my finger into the plastic weld. Not going to bother me at all. I've just sort of brushed that over with some plastic weld, and I'm going to be filing all of this down and sanding it anyway, so all of that will disappear in the end. So it may look a bit messy for now, but when we get to finish this, it will look really quite nice. So let's cut these two 3mm strips off this and stick those in place as well, and then we'll let everything dry for a little while, just so that everything has had a good time to sort of bond and we don't break it when we start filing. So we'll give that a good sort of couple of hours to dry, but two 3mm strips, and we'll stick those on there. Everything has now had time to dry, and we are left with something that looks like that, and with a little bit of work you can make it look like that. So all I've done is I've taken a knife and cut off the sort of square edge of that and made it a little bit more triangular. You can see that it gives it much more of a clip shape, and that is what will clip into the vehicle. And then I've just sort of fine-tuned that with a file, just sort of taking off the edge. So let's do the few cuts that we need. I've got my knife here again. We'll cut that off and tidy it up, and then we can test it on the Star Destroyer. And here is the final piece. What I've done, because I'd sanded it all down, so I've actually just brushed it lightly with the plastic weld, and that melts the surface and gives you this sort of shiny finish. I could have sprayed it with some black spray paint, but as I wanted this piece just to be sort of made out of plastic without any paint on it, that's the easy option. And it's now nice and sturdy as well. If you let the plastic weld go off for a long time, it really does stick very well, and I think this has got enough spring in it that it will hold in place. So let's just give it a go. So here is the little holographic display. We'll hook that in like so, and then this piece we will clip in one side like that, and then we can gently bend the other side and it will clip in, and there you go. That is really quite nice and firm, and it does hold the hologram in place. So let's give this a test. So if I push this forwards, the hologram should slide down, which it does, and if I pull this back and just gently pull that up a bit, it clips it up, and there you go. It is all held nicely in place, and I think that is as good as it's going to get for me. This is made just using pictures and sort of rough measurements out off those pictures. If I had an original, I'd be able to copy it sort of more precisely, but I think considering that is just made from scratch out of a small piece of styrene sheet, it really does do the job, and it's going to stop that holographic display sort of falling down when I put this vehicle on display. So yeah, nice job. The electronic component of the Star Destroyer is basically a big torch. You've got this section which sort of sits above Darth Vader, and there's a light bulb that goes in here. You put two batteries in the top, and then you press a button on the top to light the light down here. So really, if you turn this on its side, it's just a big torch. It's that simple. And it consists of a few parts. Some of these are a little bit awkward to find if they're lost. This is the sort of battery cover, which has a spring on it. This sometimes gets a bit tarnished, so I'm using one of these sort of glass fibre contact cleaners just to take off the sort of grime and sort of residue that has appeared over the years. It's basically this bit of metal is sort of rusting slightly, so you get a surface on it which stops the batteries having a good connection. So just rubbing this over it quickly, you can see I've managed to brighten that up. Then there's obviously the bulb. Now this is the original bulb, and I know for a fact this has blown, but it's got a very key shape to it, which unfortunately I've not been able to find something that will match, but I'll show you some other bulbs that do sort of just about the right job. And the reason this is sort of key is it's got a lip here, and there's this piece of plastic which goes over the top of this bulb, and the bit of plastic sort of pushes this onto the battery inside. There's then a little lens cover that goes over the top of that, and that clips in place. It's a sort of overly complicated design, I would say, but you know, it does work. So if we turn this over, you can see that's the inside, and this whole piece, if we put the bulb in there first, so that is sort of flush to the bottom, there's a springy bit of metal inside, and then we take this piece, push that over the top, make sure it's round the right way, and then we've got the sort of lens cover, and that pushes in, and then we twist that around to hold it in place like so. That's how it should look. Obviously this bulb has failed, so what we'll do is we'll get some batteries in, and I'll show you some different ones, and I'll show you how I'm sort of going to get this to work. But let's put some batteries in first. We'll take this all out and you can see the rest of the process. This takes two 1.5 volt batteries, and these are size C. As a completely overkill on the size of batteries, if we were doing this today, you could just put a tiny LED in here and use a small sort of cell size battery, but back when this was made, I guess this was the best and cheapest option. So we put these two batteries in. This is the battery clip that goes over the top, which we insert, make sure everything's sort of lined up. It has little clips and bits that all line it up. We put that in, and then we twist the outer section around, that locks in place. This is the button. It basically pushes the spring onto the top of the battery and completes the circuit. So now if I turn this around, I'll show you the issues with the light bulb. This is the original light bulb, and I know this doesn't work. If I push this in and I'll press the button, you can see it doesn't light up. Now I've not been able to find a replacement light bulb. These light bulbs need to be 3 volts, so they are old-fashioned torch bulbs of 3 volts. So what I've got is not quite the same. So what I've done is I've sort of looked in my parts pot and I found these. These are bulbs that are 6 volts. But the great thing about these is that they just about are held in place. The sort of glass part is just big enough that it's held in place by that. And this does actually work. I thought, well, that's great. What I'll do is I'll buy some other ones of these bulbs that are 3 volts, and I picked these up again off eBay. These are just sort of torch bulbs, but these only require 3 volts, which is what the batteries supply. And I was thinking, oh, that's great, look, it looks exactly the same. But when they turned up, they are just ever so slightly smaller, so they're not held in place by this piece here. I can modify this. I might add some glue or something around, but it's just a little bit annoying. So I'm going to show you it working with this 3 volt battery, but I'm actually going to put this 6 volt one in, so it's going to be a little bit dull. So let's try with the 3 volt one. I can just push this in place and you'll see straight away that it lights up. The way this works is a little bit sort of iffy. The button on the top is supposed to press in. Let me just get that right. So and we'll light it up, but it sort of always wants to press in place. But that's how it's supposed to look, nice and bright. If I put in this 6 volt bulb and get everything lined up, you can see that's really very dull. But this one is held in place, so it's just a little bit annoying that these bulbs are not quite the right size, or they're almost there, but just not quite perfect. So if you're buying bulbs for this, what you need to do is buy a 3 volt bulb, and hopefully the actual glass part of it will be big enough just to be held by this. If not, you're going to have to modify the bulb slightly. I think what I'm going to do is actually just glue some bits around the edge of that, and it should sort of get held in place by this bracket. You may get lucky. You may find one of these, but I've yet to find one that is a replacement. Overall, the stickers on this toy are not in too bad condition. Most of them are sort of still in place. There's a couple like this that have worn away. So I'm not going to make replacements for this. I'm just going to sort of repair what is here. If you need stickers for your Star Destroyer, then I suggest that you check out the Eric Stormtrooper website, as he has scans of the stickers that you'll need for this playset, and you can print those out. All I'm going to do here is reattach these stickers. I have some Pritt stick, which is a very sort of easy to use glue, and it's not harmful to plastics. I'm going to take some onto the end of a cotton bud like that, and then I'm going to use the cotton bud to put the glue onto the back of the stickers that have come away, like so, and then we'll stick those down. And that does a nice job of holding these in place and not damaging the plastic underneath. And again, if you want to ever remove these in the future, the glue is nice and easy to work with, and it will remove very easily. So I'm just going to go quickly round and we'll stick all of these stickers back on, and then we can start putting the ship back together. There is one final thing I actually want to do before I put the ship together, and that's because I know how this is constructed and how, because this plastic is getting old and brittle, some areas I'm concerned about breaking. The main area I can see being a problem is this top section, the way it clips together. These two pieces are sort of forced together with these plastic clips that you've got here. Now this plastic is already quite brittle, but as it ages it gets more and more brittle, and this is quite a forceful thing you have to do. So what I'm going to do is to alleviate some of the pressure on these clips. You can see that they have a little sort of lip on them. I'm actually going to sand some of that lip away just using a file, just like this. And basically this is reducing how far the clip has to bend when you clip the two pieces together. It means it's not going to be held together quite as firmly as it would have been originally, but you're putting a lot less pressure on it. So I'm going to file all three of those down, and then when we come to here, it clips under this section. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to file the edge of this away, make it a little bit sort of tapered, and I think that will help as well. So again, same file, I'm just going to put this in and file that end away, and I think doing that over all of these clips will make it a lot easier to clip together, and also a lot easier to unclip, and you'll reduce the risk of snapping these two pieces. The front clip on this is not so bad, it's these rear ones that really sort of look like they're going to cause issues. Now we can start putting this ship together. So these are the bottom feet, which just clip in the holes at the back, like so. I don't think there's any right or wrong way round of putting them, but I'm going to try and match them up so they look the sort of same way round. Then we have the handle, which slides in here. Again, I think that goes around that way. And then this is a vitally important piece. This is what the gun attaches to. This is one of the sort of quite hard to find pieces, and it's taken me a while to track down. This basically sits in here like so, and then when you turn the ship over, you clip the gun onto the top of it. We might have to remove this in a section when we add the front part of it, but for now I will clip this in place like so. And you can see from underneath you now have a handle that you can sort of move with your fingers and make the gun move. But it's a fairly simple sort of thing, but it's very easily lost. You can put the playset together without this, just sort of clipping the gun in place, but really you need that little handle. Next up we have Darth Vader's meditation chamber, or at least the bottom part of it, which consists of this. That drops in place. There are some holes that you can see you need to line up, these sort of little tabs with it, so line those up. And then there is this control panel which clips over the top and holds everything together. It clips through those holes onto the underside of the ship, like so, and then holds those pieces. Now we can move on to the top section. So the top section is made up of three main sort of sections. You've got the front panel, you've got the top panel, you've got the rear panel, and you also have the torch part that has to slot in there, like so. First thing we're going to do is attach the top panel to the back panel. Now this should be easier now that I've filed those two sort of bits down on both. We can clip that in place. That does feel a lot easier to clip in, so certainly less of a worry. We then put the torch part, goes through the hole in the top. Make sure it's round the right way, which is like so. And then we can drop this on like that. And then this back section just sort of clips in at the back. It's really a little bit of an awkward ship to put together. Once it's held together, it's quite firm, but sort of in the construction part of it, it's a bit awkward. And now we get this front section, and as I said, I think we might have to remove, oh no, we don't have to remove the gun, we can just slot that front section on. That slides in place, like so, and then this top piece clips into the front, like that, and there you go. That is the station all together. You can see I've already put in the pieces on the top, so that's the clip that I made, and we have the sliding down hologram panel there. And here's the finished playset with everything sort of back in and working. It's a really quite a nice playset. It's a lot of things going on, and it's got a lot of sort of little features that are sort of hidden in there. So it's a nice thing for kids to play with. First up, we obviously have the little hologram that falls down from the top there with a new piece of plastic that I've made there. That actually works quite well now, so you can slot that back up again, hide it away. There's also a lever here that turns that character round, so you can make him either face the hologram or rotate it around, and it will start to face where Darth Vader is in his meditation chamber at the back. That works by pulling the sort of torch mechanism up in the air like that, and you can then see Darth Vader sitting inside quite nicely. Then on the front of this we have the gun that you can move using a little handle underneath. This is not so good. The gun is actually very sort of front heavy, and the way it's attached is, yeah, a little bit sort of on the poorly designed, so you can get the gun to move a little bit, but really it looks best if you just sort of leave it in a default position like that. So that one I'm going to say is not the greatest of features. If we turn this playset round though, there is a little trapdoor on the other side. Hidden on this side you can see there is a trapdoor here with a little lever we can press, and that opens the door. So I'm guessing you know, people are supposed to escape through it. Is it supposed to be like the garbage chute on the Death Star? I'm not really sure, but it is a little sort of hidden trapdoor there that does open and close. So nice little feature if you want to sort of add a little bit of extra play value to a toy like this. As with all Star Wars toys, there are lots of little foot pegs all around, so you can stand figures all over the place. But I think my favourite ones are the ones that are on the roof up here, so you can have characters hanging down, like you can see I've got Leia hanging down there. I guess it's supposed to sort of be for interrogation or something like that, so you could have Darth Vader doing a bit of interrogation while characters hang upside down. I just think it's quite a nice little addition, the fact that they've put an extra peg or an extra couple of pegs on either side up there, so you can have characters hanging around. So that is it for my restoration on this vintage Kenner Darth Vader's Star Destroyer playset. It's actually quite a nice set. As I said, it's just hard to find a few pieces for it. The worst piece to find really is the mounting for this gun. As I showed, you can easily remake the little clip that goes up there. Some of the fittings for the light bulb inside are missing as well, and this clear panel on the front sometimes is missing. That though, if it's missing, I would suggest that you could make that out of a drinks bottle. You can buy all sorts of fizzy drinks in really quite neon colours, so I'm sure there'll be one that's in that colour. If not, go to a cheap pound shop, and again you can buy sort of almost throwaway cups, plastic cups that come in neon colours, and you'll find something that would be a good match for that. That's certainly what I would do if I hadn't already got one for this set. But otherwise the set is, you know, is pretty straightforward to build. As I said earlier, if you don't have the stickers, then go to Eric Stormtrooper's website. He has a very good scan of these, so you can download that and print them out for yourself. But overall there's nothing really that complicated in sort of repairing this. It's just finding the missing parts, and in this instance making one part that I still haven't found. Maybe one day I will, but for now the piece I made is going to work perfectly well. So I do need to say again a big thank you to Kevin and to Daniel, who both supplied sort of bits for this. I have a whole box of other parts, so I may end up building another one or passing those on to another collector who wants to build their own version of the Star Destroyer. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.